Okay, so I deleted the t-shirt and kind of reset this model back to where it was. And we said we were going to do something a little different. Um, and when I was thinking about it, I thought, well, let's do a kind of a uniform. And I thought a chef's uniform, a chef's whites. A couple of reasons for that. One, because I don't think anyone else has done it. Certainly haven't seen like that kind of uniform about in Second Life or any of the tutorials. And secondly, because it will demonstrate some of the basic methods we can use in making mesh clothes. And as I think I've said before, this isn't going to be a full fashion series and about clothes making, etc. It's just the basics to get you going if this is the area you're interested in. So we got Jim in the armature here. Let's hide the armature. So we're working with a bit of a simpler scene. Select Jim, and if we're going to do kind of this chef's thing, chef's whites, he's going to have this kind of tunic on the upper half of the body, and then obviously pair of pants or trousers or whatever you call them. But let's talk about the tunic rather than the t-shirt, which kind of ends round about here. It needs to be a bit longer, not quite 3/4 length, but certainly way below the waistline, kind of down to this area here. We could do short sleeves, we could do long sleeves, although I think rarely they have long sleeves. I think what we're going to do is kind of like 3/4 sleeves. So when he was working, etc., his cuffs wouldn't be dipping in and out the food. And the neckline is going to be higher than a t-shirt. It's probably about up here somewhere rather than down here. Okay, so now we decided that. Let's go into edit mode and let's kind of mark this out. So we said we wanted it lower down round about here, but we don't have the edge loops to copy down here. So what we're going to have to do is start with these edge loops that do go around, and then we'll have to model it downwards when we're in the modeling stage. So yeah, let's go into vertex select. Select this loop here, shift select around here and around here. See how these are going on the back. Let's come down to there. Yep, that'll be fine. Front view here. We set about 3/4 inch, not 3/4 inch, but 3/4 sleeves. So somewhere about there, I think. So that's what 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. The 8th from the shoulder seam. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. The 8th. That's looking about right. And I think for the neck, the one below the seam here, so let's try that one. Let's just make sure that all that is selected all the way around, which it has. Okay, so let's hide those. Let's do an L select here. Unhide, L for the link vertices. Unhide those, and we can part that off, separate it off. So with the P key, part the selection, which is fine. Let's go back into object mode, and we can see we got this here. Okay. I did something wrong there, so let me Control J backwards. No mesh data to join. Not Control Z backwards. There we go. Yeah, it's all one. I need to mark these again. Alright, well, this happens. I think we set about here. Let's go into vertex select. Set about here. We said the 8th one. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Shift Alt there. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Shift Alt there. And it was this loop, wasn't it? So let's make sure that's all selected all the way around. Let's hide those. L for link there. Unhide. and P. That's what I did wrong, I'm sorry. I didn't want a P, so let me escape out of that. First of all, I want to duplicate these. So Shift D and press enter. Now I can separate off. So P key, part selection. Right, okay, so it looks like it's gone, but it's not. So let's go back into object mode. You see we've got Jim selected. If I was to hide him, you can see this underneath, which is fine. So first of all, let's give this a new name. Let's call it Tunic. Okay. Second of all, let's drag it out of the bone group, so we can just work on it as it is and not worry about the weights and stuff just yet. So I'm just going to grab it on the icon there and pull it off until it says drop to clear the parent, which is fine. We go into vertex mode and we'll just clear out all these vertex groups. And these are all the bones that are influencing the entire mesh. Okay, so while we got this, let's remove the materials. So we got this white thing to look at, this white thing to model on. So if we have a look at Jim, that's there. But you can see he's kind of exactly the same size, which is what we expect, so he kind of disappears in and out. We need to enlarge it a little. So let's select all and Alt and S to scale along the normal directions. And let's just bring it a little bit larger than the actual body. Too much, somewhere about there. Alright. While I'm here, I might as well clear these seams because they're not going to be in the same place. So Control E and clear these seams. Alright. Back into object mode. Right, so what we got to do here is we've got to lengthen this. So let's have a go at that first. Let's edit mode. Let's select this bottom edge loop, and probably want to bring it down. Okay, but if I was just to grab it on the Z, we're getting these long kind of faces here. That could work, and we could add some extra edge loops. What happens if I use proportional editing? So if I press O and G on the Z, it's pulling more of these vertices down with it, which is kind of more, I suppose, what I was looking for. So I'm just going to kind of bring this down to somewhere where it's looking around about the length it should be. Alright, but it's all inside the body now, so we're going to have to sort that out with a bit of sculpting, I think. Well, I don't know, we could size on not Z to bring that out, but it's not working quite how I would like it. He's starting to look pregnant there. So I think we'll do it with a bit of sculpting. So let's go into sculpt mode. Okay, so I've got my inflate here. Here's symmetrical, so once again on the y-axis, I think we'll make sure that the symmetry lock is on the y. So now we can start to bring some of this detail or this model back out. Okay, we're going to get a few bumps in this, but we'll smooth this out later. But we're just generally bringing this model or this shirt back out outside the body. Tunic, not shirt. Yeah, that's looking okay. Alright, where to go from here? This kind of butt crack area. I think we can probably flatten for that. Just to smooth that out. It's starting to go back in there, flattening a bit too much, but that's easy to do. It's just a bit of light sculpting there. So that's flattened out. try smooth actually. There we go. Smooth some of this. Alright. Now normally these tunics are kind of square at the bottom, and this one obviously isn't. It's more like a shirt tail kind of thing. So just doing a bit of remedial work as I'm going along. So let's go back into edit mode. This is still selected. Let's start S and Z. Let's pull this influence in. Kind of pull it a bit straighter. Let's turn proportional editing off. Did that work? No, so let's turn it off and then do an S and Z again. Pull this a bit straighter. Okay, right, so back to a bit of sculpting. Inflate that slightly. Yeah, that's looking a bit straighter. Got a couple of lumps there. Let's do a smooth rather than a flatten. Let's kind of smooth some of this out. Alright, so that's looking a bit better. There's still a bit there. That's looking a bit better. So we've got this kind of straighter tunic line here. Alright, so where to go from here? Let's go back into object mode. I think down the back we're going to want a seam line, a stitch line. So let's go into edit mode. Let's select this edge loop here. First of all, let's mark it as a seam. But I think what we want to do here is actually separate these vertices, rip these vertices with the V key. So if we press V, okay, and enter, if we go back into object mode, we'll see we've created this seam. We haven't actually added any more faces, we just separated the vertices out. So I think what I'll do here, while these are selected, I'm going to grab them out towards the back, which will be on the x-axis. So ever so slightly, GX, just bring them out a little bit, then I'm going to extrude them back in. So it would be E and X, just to bring them back in. And you see that's created that heavier seam, which is the look I was going for. Alright, that's good. You can tell summer's here. Can you hear that motorbike? Right, we need to make some kind of a cut down the front for the lapels, the breast of the tunic. I think we're going to do this most probably. What's the best way to do this? I think with a knife project we can make a shape with a curve, and this is bothering me a little. Let me just quickly smooth this out. There we go. Well, let's turn the strength down a bit here. Let's flatten this a little. Still a bit there. Anyway, we can work on that. Where were we? We was talking about splitting this to make a kind of lapel for the jacket. Let's start with the curve and see how we go on. So I'm going to put my make sure my cursor is on the front of the model, which it is, and I'm going to add a Bezier, I think. Okay, align it to view. I'm going to scale it down quite a bit. Okay, let's rotate it by 90. Probably need to scale it up a bit now. He was kind of in there. Alright, let's bring it in front of the model, because you can see it's kind of sinking in there. So somehow I've lost my manipulators. There they are. Let's bring it in front of the model. There we go. So back into that front view. I want it to come over his right shoulder. So let's rotate this by 180 on the Z-axis. RZ 180. Yeah, I got that wrong, didn't I? Because I rotated everything. So should have worked. There we go. Must have pressed the wrong key somewhere. So we're getting this curve, which we can use as a kind of a cut line. Let's just kind of grab it over there. Somewhere about there. Okay, that's good. So I want to use this curve to cut into this mesh. The way to do that is we can use a knife project. So we're projecting this curve and using it as a knife. And so what we do is we have the we select the curve, we shift select the tunic, and then we can go to edit mode. Okay, now what I can do is I can use the knife project. Okay, so if we do that, press that button, you see it's created this kind of geometry here. Let's go into object mode. Let's select this curve and just move it to another layer, a random layer, say layer 5 out of the way. So we can go back to our shirt and edit it again. We see we've got this cut, but it didn't cut where I wanted it. Okay, so the reason for that is because I probably wasn't square on it. So let's Control Z back a couple of times, which we have. We got rid of that cut. Somehow got two curves here. Let's get rid of this. No, it was this one. Let's get rid of this one. I got that. Let's go into a front straight on view anyway. Let's select this curve, shift select the tunic, go into edit mode, and use a knife project, which that seems to have done a lot better. Let's go into object mode, select this curve. It's on layer 5, so let's just go to layer 1. Select the tunic and edit it again, and we see we've got this line cut. Let's go to vertex mode here. Right, so what I want to do is I want to select this this edge loop. It's not actually a loop, but it's this edge that this curve is created. So alt select is going to be broken because there's going to be some kind of like n-gons and stuff in here, but we can fix those later. So I'm just going to select this curve all the way down, which it's done, which is fine. Okay, what I'm going to do is I'm going to split these vertices. Alright, so once again with the V key we split them. Okay, what we got here is kind of overlaying geometry here. So let me grab on the X here and see what happens. And let's pull in that out. Right, that is the original position. Grab X. I'm just gonna pull this out a slight little bit, and then I'm gonna extrude it back in on the X. Give that a bit of thickness there. Let's have a look in object mode how that's looking. Okay, so we've got this cut. We've got a couple of artifacts here, but that could be sorted out later on with a subdivision surface modifier. Okay. While we got the subdivision service, let's just clean up these little poke throughs. So let's tab into sculpt mode. Let's do a slight inflate. Let's use a low strength just to clean these up. Anywhere else? No, that's looking pretty good. Alright, so we've got this double-breasted thing going on now. Let's go into edit mode. I'm thinking these should now be kind of like two separate meshes. So let's select one over here. Let's press L, and it has, and for the moment it's selecting this half of the mesh, which is kind of what I want at the minute. Because what I'm going to do is I'm going to part this off into a separate mesh. Alright, that'll allow me to pick up, say, a vertex up here using my proportional editing. Okay, I can kind of come over here, I can grab this vertex and kind of pull stuff where I want it. Let's grab it again on, let's say, the Z, and I can kind of start to add some shape to what I want, how I want. So I've just kind of separated it up here at the neck area. Alright, so let's go back into object mode, let's select the other half, edit mode, let's get these and kind of grab them to go underneath. Bit of proportional editing's helping out here. Okay, let's go back into object mode, and so we see we're getting this kind of slight overlap there, but it's going to look more effective. Same here down in the corner. Let's grab this. I've still got the subdivision surface on, which is making this kind of round a bit, but I could grab this and pull it over on the Y underneath, just to kind of create that bit of an overlap type thing. Let's grab it on the X, bring it back in a little bit, and you can see there how I'm starting to shape this this kind of tunic. Alright, now that I've got that part done, I mean, I can add buttons, I can do them later on. That's fine, but I think I'm going to rejoin these two meshes. So let's shift select the other one, Control J to join them, all one mesh. Let's go back into object mode. Let's add a whitish material so we're looking a bit better at what's going on here. Okay, that's starting to take shape. Let's mute this subdivision surface for a minute, and even then it's still looking shape. But looking around this, I might want to smooth out some of this kind of divot under the neck and stuff. So let's go into sculpt mode. Let's flatten that a bit, because the tunic is normally like a heavier material. It's not going to hug the body as close around the kind of sternum and stuff here, so we can kind of smooth that out. Yeah, it's starting to look this vertex is probably a bit high, so G on the Z, turn off proportional, GZ, make that more that way. That's good. Alright, what else can we do here? We can add some cuffs. So we've got some nice squares here, some nice faces. We can add some cuffs, but I think what I want to do is I want to reinforce this edge with an extra edge loop. So Control R, I'm going to bring this right the way in tight. tighter. Okay, now I can select these two edge loops. So let me select that one and select that one. Let's scale it, but not on the Y. So S Shift Y. Let's scale these up a little bit just to add a bit of a cuff detail. See, now we're getting this kind of a cuff detail. I can probably select this other edge loop and vertex slide in with which I think was Shift V. Let's try that. Shift V. Yeah, not quite the effect I was looking for, so I'm going to escape out of that. What I'm actually going to do is, let's go into front view again. I'm actually going to grab them on the y-axis and kind of bring them in. GY, bring them in that way. Okay, I might need to scale them slightly on Shift Y, not on the y-axis, just to give that a bit of a cuff detail there. Okay, so we've got this cuff detail. That's my subdivision looking on that. Not showing much difference. Okay. We could do the same on the other side, which I'm not going to. I'm still not that happy with that, so edit mode. What happens if I select those and I mark that as sharp? Edges. That's looking a little bit better, I think. And we could do the same on the other side, obviously. On the bottom here, we probably want this whole kind of tunic thing. Probably need to extrude it inwards to add a little bit of depth to it. So E, Shift C. There we go. Adding a bit of depth to this, and starting to build up this tunic shape here. We could add buttons to it, so let's make a simple button. Let's put our cursor up here. Let's go into the front view again so we're getting more accurate. Let's put a cursor over here. Shift A. Let's add a mesh circle. Mesh circle. Let's align it to the view. We don't need 32. Probably about 16 be enough. And let's scale it all the way down. Probably a bit smaller than that. Alright, we want to move it off the shirt a bit, so let's grab it on the Z-axis. Let's go into edit mode. Let's do a quick grid fill, so we'll come around to there, and come around to there. Not that one, not that one. So we've got equal numbers of opposite sides selected. Control F and grid fill. That gives us this nice kind of quad pattern here. It's off axis a bit, but that's okay. Let's just pull it off the shirt a bit more. Let's select this outer edge loop. Let's extrude it back on the X slightly. Let's extrude and scale in. Okay, so we've got this button shape. To make it easier to see, let's add a different material. Let's just change the color of that a bit darker. Alright, so we got a button here. Back here, we could shift duplicate these, but rather than shift duplicate, I think I'm going to alt duplicate. No, I'm not actually. I'm going to shift duplicate. Reason being is I think I'm going to need to angle these buttons in towards a shirt. So shift duplicate, I'll be able to do each one individually. Alt duplicate, whatever I do to one will happen to all the others. So shift duplicate will do. Let's go back to the 3. Let's shift D. Let's add a button there. Shift D. Add a button there. And there. Okay. I'm just going to space these out a bit more. Right. So now to put these buttons back to the shirt, let's hide Jim for the minute. So let's go to this side view. Okay, so I've got this button here. I can grab it on the X. I can rotate it. The origin's out, so let's change that. Set origin to geometry. Okay, so I can rotate this. I can do the same with this. The origin's out, so let me reset the origin. Grab it on the X, bring it in towards the tunic, rotate it. Set the origin again. And rotate it so it kind of fits. So I'm just looking at this kind of here, like this one's wrong. We need to rotate these on the Y as well, on the Z rather. It's just fine tuning, isn't it? So reset the origin. Let's bring this back in. Alright, let's have a look at the front view. That one's looking okay, that one's looking okay. This one needs to rotate Z. Hard to say. Let's do it this way. Let's bring it out a bit first of all. Then RZ. Same with this one, let's bring it out a little bit. Okay, that one's not looking too bad. Lost this one here, doesn't have the right material it looks like, or it's underneath. Let's have a look at that. Okay, we need to add some thickness around these cuffs and stuff, so let's go into edit mode. Let's grab these outer edge loops, extrude an S, bring them in, extrude, bring them in backwards, scale those down a bit. We'll do the same with the top, so let's grab these edge loops, extrude an S, and extrude on the Z-axis, just bring them down a bit, and do the same over here. Let's grab this edge loop, extrude an S, that's going back towards the origin, so extrude, then scale, extrude on the Y, probably scale that in a little bit. Alright, so back at object mode, let's unhide Jim and see we're starting to build up this kind of tunic for him, this chef's white tunic. Okay, that's 35 minutes, that's So yeah, we're up on an hour and a lesson. So I'm going to leave that here. And when we come back next week, we'll finish this off and we'll do some pants and the rigging and what have you. And then we'll be pretty much finished with the clothing for Jim.